Hello everyone, this is Richard Watson and this is Anglais the Easy Way. Now, a few weeks back we talked about how to do negatives in English. And basically we tried to do it for every tense, and we basically decided that there were two different systems to do that. Well, today we're going to try and use the same logic to talk about making questions in English. Generally, people think there are dozens of different forms you need, and you have to master them in order to make different question forms. But in reality, we only have two different systems, exactly like for the negatives. To give you an idea, we're still using those two systems. And if you don't know what they are, go and listen to episode 66 about making negatives. The do system and the just rearrange system, if you want to call it that. So we've mastered making negatives. Let's do the questions. Remember, English is an easy language. Despite those tricky words and difficult pronunciation, the basic grammar is pretty easy, and making questions is no exception. So how are we going to turn every sentence and every tense into a question? Well, you know the basics. How about this one? Do you speak English? See, that's an easy one. You know that one. You've already mastered quite a lot of it. In general, there are still only two forms. System 1 uses our trusted friend, the auxiliary verb to do, and system 2 involves changing the order of the words, right? We're just changing them around. So typically, you speak English becomes do you speak English? We add the do at the beginning and put the subject after. So do you speak? They like chocolate becomes do they like chocolate? You live here becomes do you live here? So as a rule, we're working with these two different systems where the do, did, and does auxiliary is going to be used for system 1. Remember that. She wanted coffee will become did she want coffee? Now remember the third person singular, that S on the end of your verb. She works from home becomes does she work from home? So only 3 forms in the first system. Do you want? Does she work? Did you know? That works for all the present simple verbs except the verb to be and the past simple. So what about system 2? Well, system 2 is everything else. It's the verb to be, it's the modal verbs, and it's every other tense that exists in English. So not the present simple and not the past simple. So how do we do it? I'll say this as simply as possible. Just switch the subject and the first part of the verb, or the verb to be if that's it. That's it. Nothing really more to add. Generally speaking, the key is to move the first part of the verb before the subject. As an example, I am working at home becomes am I working at home? So I am becomes am I. We just swap the I and the am. Basically, the subject and the auxiliary verb switch places to form a question. It's that simple. They are coming. The question, are they coming? She has finished becomes has she finished? I was tired becomes was I tired? And for modal verbs, it's the same. I should go becomes should I go? Let me give you a few more examples. I will finish. Will I finish? He has been working becomes has he been working? And he's going to do it becomes is he going to do it? Typically, you'll find that modal verbs act the same way as an auxiliary verb. Have some fun with this. So in general, the only real difficulty is identifying the verb and the subject, right? Well, the first part of the verb, which can be an auxiliary. In most cases, it's pretty easy, and you can apply this without thinking all that much once you've practiced it a bit. And don't forget, once you've done all of this work, then you can move on to adding a question word in front. You can say, you are going. The question becomes, are you going? And then you add another question word, where are you going? Did you eat? Becomes, what did you eat? Is she happy? Becomes, why is she happy? Will they arrive? Becomes, when will they arrive? If you take the positive, she likes sushi, the question, does she like sushi? And then, why does she like sushi? So that's a pretty easy pattern to follow, isn't it? So don't be afraid to experiment. It's the power of understanding the basic structure of questions in English. Once you have that foundation, adding question words is a piece of cake. Then, if you want to have more fun, try and do some things that French people don't like doing when they make questions. We like to put adjectives and adverbs after the word how. French people seem to hate this. We don't say, what is your age? We say, how old are you? We don't say, what is your weight? We say, how heavy are you? How tall are you? And an adverb, how often do you go to England? We don't say, do you go often? We say, how often? How slowly? How quickly? How important? Very natural structure in English that doesn't really work in French. And if you have a noun, of course, you can use what or which. What is your name? Or what company do you work for? Or what country do you prefer? Or which day are you in Paris? If you want to know the difference between what and which, well, basically we use what when we have a lot of choices. What is your telephone number? Because there are many different telephone numbers. If I only have 5 ice creams and I say, which one do you want? You only have a choice of the 5. Right? So you're choosing one of a finite set. Anyway, if you're interested, you can go back and listen to this podcast again. You'll find I was using some expressions about generalizing. You might hear me say, in general, typically, as a rule, generally speaking, in most cases, and a few others. Go and find them yourself. Anyway, that's enough for this week. I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to subscribe.